And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Rattus is a game about, well, the Black Plague, and having as much population as you can survive it. Sounds like a very gory theme, and it's not. It's actually, well, it is a gory theme, but the gameplay does not simulate that. It's mostly about manipulation and controlling the rats as they run around. Now we have an expansion, Africanus. Now this does a couple things. It adds more players. Woo! Woo! It also adds another new class of characters. Woohoo! It also adds more characters. Yay! It also adds a deck of cards. Let's take a look. So the biggest thing that the game adds here is the 5th and 6th players. We have a new board, and we have 2 new player colors, orange and white, that can be used. But the biggest thing is the board, and I don't think they made the original board with the expansion in mind. So there's a bunch of arrows showing what goes to where. These arrows pointing there, so there's a lot more arrows, but it's still pretty easy to see which areas are adjacent to what other areas. And so, we can stop right there. For some people, they're going to get the expansion just because it adds a 5th and 6th player to the game. It also comes with a whole pile of rat tokens, which you'll need because you have more territories and for a longer game. And the rat tokens are also needed because there's a new class, the Islamic class. There is 4 of these folks included with the game, although there's at least 2 others that are available through promotions and things. And so we'll talk a little bit about each of these 4 classes in a moment, but let's talk about other things that the game adds. It adds some of these tokens, which are used to put on the chivalry pieces that come with the basic game to let you know that those pieces can be moved 4 spaces rather than 3. Like this here basically, but it's just kind of a reminder pieces that you have in the game. And then there is some cards included with the game. Now, the way these cards work is each player is going to get 3 of these cards at the beginning of the game. Each card shows a territory. Unfortunately, it doesn't really tell you where the territory is. You're going to have to look at the name and kind of match it up on the board. But each of these, and then it also has a couple of symbols at the top showing different symbols. Now, these cards can be used in one of 2 ways. If a rat token is turned over and it's going to kill 1 or more of your cubes, and you have that guy in front of you, so let's say that one kills the symbol with the crown, and I have a crown person in front of me, and I can play a crown card to say, no, I'm not going to lose any tokens this turn. The other use for a card is at the end of the game. If I have the majority of cubes in the region that's shown on the card, then I'll get an extra point. So they add 1 or 2 points and save 1 or 2 cubes from dying over the course of the game. Now, a new class, which allows for variations on the rat tokens and allows you to have more characters in the game. In fact, in a 5 to 6 player game, you're going to have 8 characters on the board, which is pretty neat. But let's talk about these new guys. First of all, there's a couple of them that deal with the cards. We have the astronomer, who when he holds this card, he draws 3 cards from the deck, chooses 1 to keep. So if you're going to play with cards, you better play with the astronomer because he will let you get more cards as the game goes by, which gives you more and more points. The explorer draws 3 cards from the deck, and he's going to choose one of those cards and put a cube in that region, and then discard the 3 cards. So that's a nice way of using the cards. And then there are some other guys. Here we have the caravaner, who adds a new piece to the board. This piece will be used at the beginning of the game. It's a camel, and when that camel, the caravan, is placed on the board, each turn he can move that, and the space that he moves through and the space that he moves to, the space he moves from and the space that he moves through, each get a cube added in the color of the player moving. So it's a way to have extra pieces. Now, thematically, doesn't make a lot of sense. We ended up saying that the camel was pooping cubes all over the board. But game-wise, thematically, it was very fun. And then the last one is the Sultan here. And he comes with a whole bunch of purple pieces that are diplomats. And you could put one of those underneath a cube, and they can be killed by the plague. But each of these, and you can only have one in each region, but whoever has the most diplomats at the end of the game is going to get points. 4 points, whoever has the most. And the second most will get 2 points, etc. And so they're basically another way to get extra points at the end of the game. A bit ho-hum if you ask me, and certainly not worth all the extra pieces. So I don't really want to play with this guy. Okay, adding a 5th or 6th player is nice. I don't know that I want to play Rattus with 5 or 6 players all the time, but the opportunity to. Having a bigger board is also fun because there's more places to move. I really enjoy that. In fact, I want to play with this all the time just so I can use the bigger board. The extra character classes, they're neat. I like the one that moves the camel the best, mostly because that brings more cubes and adds strategy as to where that camel's going. The whole new class is a good thing, and I enjoy that. The idea of having lots of different characters, you put out a ton of characters with 6 players, and I very much enjoy what's been added. Now, this deck of cards that's been added, there's a couple of characters that refer to this deck of cards. One lets you draw from it. If that one is in the game, I will play with the deck of cards. If that character is not in the game, forget it. Because the deck of cards just doesn't add so much. I mean, I'm looking at these cards trying to figure out where the territory is anyway. It doesn't show you on a card. It just has a picture of desert in the background. Woohoo! And so you're looking for that. And the ability to keep one of your people from dying or to get an extra point at the end of the game, that sounds like it's a big deal, and it's really, really not. So that's probably the least interesting thing about the new expansion. But if you want more people to play and more characters, well, then this is a must-buy for you. So that's the expansion. I like it. The cards, not so much, but the rest of it's a lot of fun.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.